Welcome to this week in the world of wrestling.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your NXT Takeover Rival preview and predictions.
Ashton, brother, we go around this trip again. This card looks absolutely stacked. If my memory is correct, this is the 4th NXT Live special.
5th.
And man, they just keep getting 5th.
5th. We had NXT Arrival, NXT Takeover, NXT Takeover Fatal 4-Way, NXT Takeover Our Evolution, and now NXT Takeover Rival.
So this is our fifth time discussing the wonder and brilliance that is the NXT product. And they just keep upping the ante, man. Just when I think that they may hit a wall, or they've peaked, or what have you, they find a way to create a card that just leaves me salivating. And considering the championship matches and some of the feuds that we're going to see come to a head on this card, dude, I just cannot wait. This is going to be an amazing show.
Absolutely. I'm going to say this. Am I anticipating this show as much as I was anticipating NXT TakeOver Our Evolution? Not really. But on that same note, I do think that this is the show that I'm anticipating most next to NXT TakeOver Our Evolution since they started doing these live specials.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at the women's division is hot right now. The main event angle involving the championship, that's insane. How they're going to determine contendership and how that's going to conclude. So many people are calling it a dream match. I mean, let's just get right into it, dude. I'm just so anxious. This card is stacked.
All right, let's talk about the match that we really don't feel has any reason to actually exist on this card because it's already been basically concluded. Baron Corbin versus Bull Dempsey in a no disqualification match.
Yeah, I really don't see the purpose in this when Baron Corbin, he's not only beaten Bull Dempsey twice, but he's beaten him decisively. There's been no ambiguity in either Baron Corbin's victories. This is just Bull Dempsey being salty about the fact that there's a new kid on the block that was better than he could ever hope to be. Yeah. Baron Corbin's going to win this hands down, but you know what? I hope he takes his time with this one because let's remember, Bull Dempsey screwed Baron Corbin out of potentially being #1 contender for the NXT Championship. So I hope Baron enjoys this one this time around.
You know, when you put it that way, kind of makes me think that Baron Corbin is going to let his temper get the best of him and he's going to make a rookie mistake.
Don't overthink this, dude. Because to me, I understand where you're coming from, but I think that's overthinking it. I think you figure this is a no disqualification match, and Baron Corbin has already handedly, dominated Bull Dempsey within the confines of the rules as is. At a no DQ stipulation, Bull Dempsey may have a better performance this time around, but it still doesn't mean he's going to beat the final boss, so to speak.
Yeah, but this means that Bull Dempsey can cheat and get away with it.
He may be able to cheat, but I see Baron Corbin overcoming here. Especially considering that he just recently lost to Adrian Neville.
Man, it's so funny because we're coming into this match and I was all Corbin all the way, and then you said something like Corbin needs to get revenge for Dempsey and he's gonna really punish him and you said something about how you want him to really take his time, and it's just like, well, what if he does take his time? But he takes a little too much time, and Bull Dempsey catches him in like a roll-up or something.
I think that is a legitimate point to make, certainly. I just don't see it happening for Corbin. He just recently had his first loss. I don't think it's going to be this close that he suffers his next one. I see Baron Corbin winning here. I don't even really know how much they're going to utilize the no DQ stipulation, to be honest with you. And yet that could also pose a problem because they don't use it much.
I just had a light bulb go off in my head.
Okay.
If this was WWE, the main roster, I would pick Bull Dempsey because whatever they do is just they tend to go with the way that would piss me off the most, and that's what it would be. But it's NXT, and I have faith. I believe in NXT, so I'm going to pick Baron Corbin. Final answer. Lock it in.
Lock it in, and you win the cash prize, because I definitely see it going that way. Should be a fun matchup, but you know what? For the sake of both guys, I really do hope this is the last go-round, and I do believe it will be. I think Triple H or whoever is kind of spearheading this is competent enough to know, you know what,
well, yeah, I mean, this is your prototypical relegation storyline. This is Bull Dempsey being made obsolete and getting relegated to house shows where he can work on a new gimmick.
Yeah, and the question now becomes, what happens to Baron Corbin? Like, who does he feud with next?
I think it's pretty clear that his next goal, once he gets through Bull Dempsey, is probably going to be the championship.
Yeah, but
maybe he will be the opponent for the champion at the next live special.
Maybe he will be. And that's the great thing about these live specials being so spaced out, because while we have two claimants that are going to battle it out later in the show, and I cannot wait to talk about that match with you, that doesn't mean that you can't build Corbin in the meantime.
Right.
So I could certainly see where you're coming from. So yeah, Baron Corbin for the win, and hopefully the next stop, NXT Championship opportunity. Let's do it.
Absolutely. All right. Up next, let's talk about the only other match on this card that does not involve a championship. Tyler Breeze versus Hideo Itami. It has not been officially announced, I don't believe, but Hideo Itami did officially say that it was happening on his Twitter.
Yes, and you know what? I'm all for it, man. I love their first matchup in the NXT tournament, preliminaries, the quarterfinals. So I am cool with this match happening again. The crowd loved it the first time it happened, and these guys showed that they have great chemistry. The story seems pretty straightforward. Tyler Breeze feels jaded because Hideo Itami ousted him from the tournament, and then Tyler Breeze blew a gasket when he saw Hideo lose to Finn Balor, because in Tyler Breeze's words, you blew it, I could have beaten Finn Balor, and you ruined it. And he kicks him in the ribs, and he walks off. So I do see Hideo Itami getting the win here, but to no detriment of Breeze. I'm glad to see that he's working with this caliber of talent, because I don't really think he's really slipped off the ladder at all, at least not as much as I originally thought, if he's working with guys like this in these kinds of programs. I love how straightforward and simple it is. I think this should be a great matchup, and Hideo Itami with the win.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And when I say absolutely, I mean I agree with you.
Yeah.
Maybe, though, just to protect Breeze and to kind of reintroduce this storyline, maybe they'll have Marcus Louis cost Breeze the match.
Yes, that's a very good point, Ashton. I've been wondering when we're going to really see the reintroduction of Marcus Louis and not just him, stalking from afar. And I mean so far, you need, a special camera shot to see. You see that little dot right there? That's Marcus Louis! So, maybe that will happen, because Tyler Breeze, I do think they have a vested interest in him. So I think you make a very good point. I would not be surprised to see that happen.
Yeah. All right. Up next, let's talk about... Let's see. Do you want to go with the one that doesn't directly involve a championship but still has championship implications? Or do you want to talk about what I would go as far as to say is right now the least prestigious championship in this promotion?
Let's talk about the least prestigious championship, because I think I know the other match you're referring to, seeing as how this is a smaller card, and I want to save that.
Okay. So let's talk about the tag championship match. We have the Lucha Dragons trying to regain their championships from Team Thick, and it's no longer Wesley Blake and Buddy Murphy. It's now just Blake and Murphy. They dropped their first names.
Another name drop. God damn. Can people not have full identities anymore? But
I don't know. Let's ask Cesaro and Big E, and then maybe let's go find their best friends, Antonio Langston.
Yeah, exactly, right. Well, Ashton, I really kind of talked everybody's ear off with Itami and Breeze. I want to hear your initial thoughts on the tag title match. What are your thoughts going into this?
It's kind of confusing when you first kind of see the situation here, because there are a lot of people that think that Team Thick are transitional champions, and people that think, oh, well, these guys are only winning because the WWE wants to call up Kalisto and they don't want him to have a championship, so they decided to go for the shock and awe value of having Team Thick get the upset. But to me, if they knew they wanted to call up Kalisto, they could have just put the titles on the Vaudevillains and everyone would have been happy.
Oh, certainly. I completely agree with you there. I
think that they gave the titles to Team Thick because they actually wanted Team Thick to be the champions, because these guys are awesome. And they wanted to highlight them and make them seem like more than just your regular everyday tag team jobbers.
Yeah, your whole assessment of the situation, I think, is spot on. You and I have talked about Team Thick in the past. I mean, even before WWE.com highlighted them as kind of like the people to look out for in 2015, you and I talked about at length how we felt like this team had an upside.
Specifically, Buddy Murphy.
Specifically Buddy Murphy, yes. But I know I have said, like, with the team as a whole, and I know you, of course, signed on to it, like, I think the packaging is on point. I love the look of both guys. They have everything that I think a tag team should be if they want to be taken seriously and want to actually be an active part of the division and not just thrown together because they have nothing better to do. That said, their win really was quite abrupt. I think it shocked a lot of people, because you saw how Lucha Dragons were pretty much dominating beforehand and pretty much having exhibition matches that everybody just stepped up to them. And then Blake and Murphy come along, who before that really weren't doing much, and really it kind of snowballed for them because they beat the Vaudevillains, who were the cream of the crop right behind the champions.
Right.
And then the week after they win the gold. So it's just kind of, again, snowballed out of control for them. But I think this is their time to really put a stamp on it, to kind of have that cool down and say, the shock's worn off, and we are here to stay. And so I do believe that Team Thick is going to retain.
Yep.
Traditionally on NXT Live Specials, I noticed the tag title matches don't really get a lot of time. So I don't expect this to be like any kind of a clinic or anything, which I do think these two teams are capable of putting on, for the record.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, what it'll probably come down to, it'll be a lot like the way they won the titles. It'll be Kalisto is kind of doing his flippy stuff. Sin Cara attempts a suicide dive maybe and misses, and that allows Blake and Murphy to double team Kalisto for the win.
Absolutely. Yeah, you know what? I'm not even going to add anything to that. That's how I think it's going to go down. Team Thick to retain and hopefully go on quite a run, and I'll be interested to see who takes it off of them. I'm still very interested in the tag team division of NXT. Shoot Nation, I'm kind of feeling it too, so we'll see what happens.
Absolutely, and I'm right there with you. I also think that Team Thick is going to retain, which is so weird because a month ago they weren't even champs.
Exactly. Yeah, I know, right? Like I said, just the craziness of the whole thing.
But yeah, since we agree on that, we can move on. Man, this is the fastest preview predictions video we've ever had. Because we already know that we have two huge championship matches set up. Let's talk about the only other match that does not involve a championship. Adrian Neville, Finn Balor, #1 contendership. John, you can take it away this time.
Probably one of the hardest matches to call for me personally, guys. And here's the thing, though. It's one of the hardest matches to call, but I have actually dug my heels into the dirt and stood by my initial prediction, which I'll get to in a second. But that doesn't mean that I'm not plagued with doubt at the same time. You're talking about Adrian Neville, one of the strongest guys on NXT. When you beat Adrian Neville, you've done something. I mean, that's the kind of stock that I believe he holds in this brand. And Finn Balor, while not the same as Adrian Neville in that respect, you know that he's a hot prospect. You know that he's this guy that people are looking at and saying, that's what, when people ask what's NXT, we can point them in Finn Balor's direction and we have ourselves a new consumer. That's the kind of appeal I think Finn Balor holds. So when you get two entities like that colliding, first of all, be grateful for the privilege, because I know I will be. And second of all, it's so difficult to call. And I'm just going to get right to it. It's going to be an amazing match, but Adrian Neville's winning. Now, let me just say before I hand it to Ashton, the only reason I say Adrian Neville is winning is because of my thoughts on the main event match between Zayn and Owens, which we'll get to later, and I'll flesh the thoughts out more there. But these two matches kind of tie together for me. So, one is kind of influencing the other, so to speak. Ashton, what do you think?
I think that it really... Before I actually make my prediction, let me just say this. I do not want Finn Balor in body paint for this.
Yeah, we might as well talk about it, right? Because I know a lot of people are excited. I don't think it's big enough. I think when he first competes for the NXT Championship, that's when you should bring it back.
Yes, exactly. When it's a big deal. I mean, the first time it was his live special debut. That's a big deal. This is his second live special appearance. It is just a #1 contendership match. Is that a big deal? I mean, kayfabe-wise, sure, but realistically, no, not really. Is it worth that super awesome special entrance? I don't think so. I think that when he competes for his first championship, even if it's a tag team championship, like he teams up with someone, maybe even Itami, I don't know, and they go after tag gold, then I could see it. But for a #1 contendership match, I just don't like the idea of, because if you do it too much, it stops being special.
Right.
And I feel like 2 in a row would make it not special.
And see, I do have to say this. While I agree with you, I wouldn't be surprised to see him come out with the paint.
And I'm going to be perfectly clear. If he does come out with the paint, will I be a little miffed? Yes. Will I be angry? No.
Right. Because the funny thing is, I think WWE has the same thought process as you do. It's just the only difference is they probably do think they're spacing it out enough, reserving it only for live specials. So it'll be very interesting to see what they do. But now, to continue with your thoughts on the match, because that's what I really want to hear. What are you thinking?
I still haven't decided what I think is going to happen in this match. I could buy. No, you know what? I'm going to stand by my. You said about how you were digging your heels in. I'm digging my heels in. I think Balor's winning this.
Our first divide. Actually, our first pretty big divide in quite some time in general.
Because I genuinely think Adrian Neville is debuting on the main roster within a week after WrestleMania. I think he's going to either debut. Well, actually, you know what? I'm just going to come right out and say I think he's going to either debut at the Raw after WrestleMania or the SmackDown after WrestleMania. And I could see them doing it on SmackDown because they've done that before.
And that's a fair assessment. That's absolutely a fair assessment. Again, I have my reasons for picking Adrian Neville.
Do you mind if I kind of throw out what I think you're going to say?
Yeah.
You think it's going to be a triple threat?
Yeah, that's where I definitely think, and I might as well come out and say it now since you've put it forward. I think because Kevin Owens has attacked Adrian Neville and he's kind of had his beef with him, all of these beefs are going to connect in a triangle, or in other words, a triple threat. So I think that's the long con here, and I think Adrian Neville needs to win to make that happen. So I'm picking him to beat Finn Balor. So
see, and I see where you're coming from, but and I could even see the triple threat happening, but I don't think it needs to be Neville for it to be a triple threat. Just because, here's my thing. Do they have beef? Not really. I mean, realistically, the only reason Neville has beef with Owens is because of what Owens did to Zayn. Like, Neville has no personal issues with Owens. He just was defending his friend. And yeah, Owens might have taken a few liberties in their match with each other, but it's not like Neville has this blood feud with Owens, or like he has this personal vendetta against him just because he lost to him once. So I think that for as little actual storyline as I personally see there being between Owens and Neville, I think that you could manufacture just as much between Owens and Finn Balor.
Certainly, and let me just point out very quickly, I have no contention with you about this not being a blood feud, but my thing is, like, again, he took those liberties in the matchup, as you said, and then when Sami Zayn and Adrian Neville had their rematch for the championship, Owens came out and he attacked them both, post-match, and of course the attack was more focused on Sami, obviously, but Neville did get a little taste of that. So these three guys have been kind of doing this dance with each other, and now I think that it's just going to culminate in that. So that's really my reasoning behind that, but I think you're just as justified picking Finn Balor. So
I really think that, because here's my thing, I think it really kind of it all comes down to, for both of us really, I think it comes down to predicting what is going to happen with the championship, because for you think that Owens is going to win it, and then we're going to get a triple threat, Owens, Neville, Zayn, right?
Right.
Well, for me, I think Owens is going to win it, and then defend it one-on-one against somebody not named Sami Zayn at the next live special, so that the Sami Zayn feud can kind of brood and build and explode at the following live special after that. You know what I mean?
See, and that's a very interesting process, because you can probably figure out by now that mine's far more straightforward. It's Owens wins the championship, Sami Zayn is a rematch clause, but we also have the number one contendership from the tournament.
Right.
These claims collide.
Right.
And that's where we get our triple threat. So you're right.
And I could even see, because Sami Zayn is such a fiery personality.
Right.
I could see him cashing in his rematch on a random episode of NXT television.
And that's the X factor for my prediction personally, is that we've got so much television between now and the next live special.
Right, and it's even more brilliant because of that, though, because you look at that situation with Neville, or not Neville, with Zayn and Owens, and Owens has gotten inside Neville's head so much, to the degree that Zayn was willing to put his title on the line when William Regal didn't even want him to. And now you've got to believe that, because that right there is a foundation on which you can build the sort of character of Sami Zayn caring more about getting his hands around Kevin Owens' throat than the championship.
Yeah, for Sami Zayn, it's funny, right? Because, and I really feel like we should be having this discussion more for Zayn and Owens' actual matchup. But for him, I don't even think the championship is his primary focus.
Well, I mean, do we really have anything left to say about Balor Neville other than I think Balor wins, you think Neville wins, and I think Balor's going to get his one-on-one shot at the next live special. You think Neville's going to get a shot in a triple threat.
Yeah, so we can move on to.
So we can just continue this discussion under the guise of now we're talking about Zayn versus Owens.
Yeah, so to continue my point then, and thank you for that because now I feel a lot better. But to me, it's funny because Zayn's first arc was about being the NXT champion, and now I feel like he's almost transcended that. And the funny thing is, he has the belt. Normally, people transcend it when they're not the champion, but I don't even feel like the title is really the main focus, which is so weird because NXT has always been so good about making their championship front and center. And I'm not saying this is a bad thing, because if it's not going to be front and center, this is the kind of thing that you want to be front and center. But why? Because you already said, when we were having our discussion of Balor Neville, that I think Kevin Owens is going to win. Here's the thing, and I was thinking about this line before we started recording. If a guy like Shakespeare was still alive today, he would be a Sami Zayn mark, because to me, Sami Zayn is essentially a character of tragedy. A character that comes so close time and time again and always falls short. Now, I know what people are thinking. Well, he recently won the belt. He got his moment. And that's true. But I think that's only to create a greater tragedy of it being so short-lived. The idea of Sami Zayn having a run akin to Neville or Bo Dallas before him always seemed ludicrous to me. I never bought into it. You and I even talked about it, and we said that Sami Zayn was probably going to be one of the shortest reigning NXT champions in that belt's history, because it just didn't seem to jibe with his character and his progression. And Kevin Owens has guaranteed that he is going to win his match against Sami Zayn. Now, a heel making a guarantee, I mean, it's up to you guys whether or not that holds a lot of salt or not. For me, it does when you couple it with who Sami Zayn is.
Well, not just who Sami Zayn is, but who Kevin Owens is.
And who Kevin Owens is, absolutely. So, yeah, I think because Sami Zayn is essentially a tragedy, the party's over. Clock strikes midnight, Kevin Owens is going to pin him, and then it just kind of clears the path for Sami Zayn to say, okay, well, I can't fight for the belt anymore. Now I'll just fight for Kevin Owens' blood, and that'll be his sole focus. And we're going to have a really bitter rivalry on our hands that really begins, that really explodes at NXT TakeOver Rivals. So Kevin Owens wins.
Yeah, I do think Kevin Owens wins. And again, though, I do want to kind of go back to the point that we were discussing before we had that little moment of self-clarity.
Right.
I think that, like you said, Sami Zayn is going to be so concerned with, just like I said earlier, getting his hands around the throat of Kevin Owens, that even if William Regal wants him to be able to get his, as I said, hands around the throat of Kevin Owens, William Regal is this perfect sort of chaotic neutral.
Yes.
Where he wants, he can pick sides, but he doesn't take action to really put any kind of bias towards either one of the sides, even if he does have a favorite.
Right.
Like with the whole Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens thing, sure, he wanted for Sami to get his hands on Kevin Owens without the title being on the line, but he kind of had to give in a little bit to both guys because Owens refused to sign the contract without it being a championship match, and Zayn straight up said, I'm not leaving until you put that in the contract so that he will sign it.
Right.
So
yeah.
Regal is very reasonable. He's neutral in that he doesn't take sides, even from an action standpoint, even though he might have favorites, he doesn't really play favorites. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and can I just say as a quick side note, because I don't want that to evolve into a discussion all its own, but I love how Regal just plays it straight. Like, I'm a huge fan of the Authority, but it's so great to have a GM that's just actually a GM.
Right, and that's an entire discussion all on its own, like you said, but we're just going to move past it.
But I have a question.
Hang on a second, John. I'm not done.
Okay.
I'm not done. So what I was getting ready to say was, I think that Regal will try his best to convince Sami Zayn that it's not a good idea to cash in his rematch clause this early, that he should wait until he is more of a sound mind, when he feels more sort of reasonable, when he's in a better state of mind, rather than this angry, over the top, like just ball of hate. But Sami being the stubborn, and really this is what's great about Sami Zayn, because he has negative characteristics to his personality, but they're all so relatable. And Zayn is a very stubborn person when it comes down to things that he knows he wants. And in this specific case, I think that he would know that he wants to beat up Kevin Owens more than he wants to be champion again. So he's going to cash in that clause because he knows that's the only way he can get a match with Kevin Owens and lose it.
Now, this is where I have a very important question for you, though, because I've seen this discussed a lot. In the history of NXT live specials, we normally see that every big kind of thing usually has a resolute conclusion. Could this be the first time on a live special that we see a non-finish, and maybe Sami Zayn throws the match away because of his emotional turmoil and gets DQ'd? Because if there was ever a time to do the non-finish, I would be okay with it being here.
Yes,
because it makes
absolutely,
the most sense here.
Definitely. I could definitely. I mean, if they wanted to, John, if they wanted to go all ROH with this, they could drag this feud out to every single live special between now and this coming December.
Yeah. It's got a lot of mileage, dude. And here's the thing. You know that I have been so certain that Kevin Owens is winning, and I'm standing by it. I'm not backing out now because it's 24 hours away now. There's no backing out now. But given Sami Zayn's mental and emotional state, I have been thinking, oh man, is he going to throw it away? And then that's Kevin Owens' claim to a rematch, and we get to the triple threat that way as well.
See, but no, you know what? The more I think about it, the less that makes sense, because these guys aren't concerned only with beating the other guy up. Like, you could say what you want, Sami Zayn wants to beat Kevin Owens up, sure, but I don't think anything is more important to either one of these men than defeating the other guy. Not necessarily just beating him up, but actually winning against him.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin Owens wants the prize, right? That's the whole reason.
Right, Kevin Owens wants the championship, and therefore he can't get himself disqualified. But Sami Zayn wants nothing more than to prove that he is better than Kevin Owens, and he can't do that if he gets himself disqualified.
He may want to prove that he's better than Kevin Owens, but I mean, he has used language such as, do you want to see me kick Kevin Owens' ass, and this and that. And Sami in the back of his mind may be like, you know what, I may give Kevin Owens this battle, but with the marks I'm going to leave on him and how I'm going to beat him up, I'm going to emerge the winner of the war.
Again, though, here's my thing, dude. If that was all Sami was concerned with, if he was only concerned with kicking Kevin Owens' ass, he wouldn't have asked for this match, because he would have just started jumping him in the back.
Do make a good point there.
They've been in the same vicinity as each other multiple times, and Zayn has never gotten physical with Owens.
You know, well, what if is another possibility? Say it's almost like half and half, right? Like, say he wants this to be a competitive bout and he wants to out-wrestle Kevin Owens. But you and I both know from his match with Adrian Neville, Kevin Owens talks some shit, all right, when he is in control.
Yeah, that's true.
And what if he is playing
those... Is that the only match he's ever had on NXT television?
Yeah, outside of his debut at the live special Revolution against CJ Parker.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
Yeah, this is only his third bout from what I recollect.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the stuff he was saying, you were the longest reigning NXT champion, what a joke. And like, he was going hard with it, and he has displayed an attitude where he does not care, he does what he wants, all this good stuff.
Yeah.
And he's maybe talking stuff to Sami, and Sami is the type that, and I love him for it. This is not a criticism of Sami Zayn, but he is a guy that is heart over head. He is a guy that is emotionally driven, and I could see...
You know what, though, John, though? This might come back to NXT TakeOver Revolution, where he had the belt in his hands ready to use, and the crowd stopped him.
That could be. He may grab a chair or a belt, and the crowd kind of persuades him not to. But what if they do a turn of events here from our Revolution, and he says, no, I want his blood, and he goes for it anyway?
See, I'm telling you, dude, you're focusing too much on he wants his blood. He doesn't want his blood. If he wanted his blood, like I said, there were so many other instances where he could have gotten his blood that didn't need to be in a wrestling match. He wants to beat him. He wants to pin his arms, his shoulders to the mat for 3. He wants to prove that he is better than Owens. That's what Sami Zayn's motivation is here. If he just wanted Owens' blood, he could have gotten it in many other ways rather than just having to sign a contract to get a match with him.
And you're certainly right about that, but here's my thing, and we've seen feuds in the past that, yeah, I think every guy, you know, in a feud like this initially wants to be better than that other guy in ring, but how many indignities can one human being suffer? And I just think
I think that might play into their next match, which might be a no DQ match, but for this one, again, I'm not completely discounting it because it's still a good thought, but the more I think about it, the more I feel like it just doesn't make sense for either one of these guys to get themselves disqualified.
I mean, hey, you know I'm still picking Kevin Owens to actually win the championship, but I know here on Preview Predictions we flesh out every conceivable possibility.
Right.
And to me, I could just see Sami Zayn getting ahead of himself because Kevin Owens is just a taunting, smug son of a bitch.
Yeah, and I don't see it. See, and I could see, if anything, I would almost think that Owens would be more likely to get himself disqualified than Sami Zayn because, I mean, say what you want about Sami Zayn, he's never gotten himself disqualified. I mean, even at NXT TakeOver Our Evolution, if he would have gone through with using the belt, it wouldn't have been a DQ because the ref was out.
Right.
He's very law-abiding even when he is enraged, which he was at NXT TakeOver Our Evolution. Like, you kind of got the feeling in the middle of that match that he lost his respect for Adrian Neville because of Neville taking advantage of the ref bumps and stuff like that. Well, I mean, obviously, I think it's kind of the opposite, where he liked Adrian Neville, but he didn't respect him. I think he respects Kevin Owens, but he doesn't like him.
And see, my thing with that is, you're talking about Kevin Owens having a greater likelihood, but to me, the problem with that is, just like there are problems with Zayn, I think the problem with that is it would be so, I think, contrarian to the personality that they've created for Kevin Owens, because he is all about, like we said,
right? That would be it would be contrary to Kevin Owens' personality, but no more than Sami Zayn getting himself disqualified would be contrary to his personality.
That is true. I do think I can give you that point, but I think in the end, maybe NXT will continue its tradition of keeping world title matches clean.
Yeah.
But again, if they do pull out the non-finish, I wouldn't even be angry. Again,
no, I wouldn't be angry. I'm at the point now that there is no finish that would make me angrier than Zayn winning clean.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. That's the one thing that I don't think I would really be able to buy. So if they choose to pull out the non-finish here, I think it's the perfect storyline to do it, the perfect two guys to do it, and I'd be cool with it. So we'll see what happens. But that's really all I have to say about that.
All right. Well, hey guys, that's the last match that we had to talk about.
Well, actually, we never talked about the NXT Women's Championship match.
Oh my God. Yeah, because we skipped right. Well, hey, you know what? It might not main event the show because the NXT Championship is going to, but it's main eventing preview and predictions. Women's Championship Fatal 4-Way match, baby. Let's do this.
Oh man, dude, the culmination of all this into this Fatal 4-Way just shows the brilliance of the NXT Women's division for me. I am quite excited for this matchup. I mean, you got Charlotte, Becky Lynch, Bayley, and Sasha Banks. Who's going to walk away with the gold? And the crazy thing, dude, I have been saying forever, Sasha Banks, Sasha Banks, Sasha Banks, and I'm sticking by it because she's my girl, and I know she's yours too. But watch Charlotte pull another one out of the hat. And I've been thinking about that today. I'm like, son of a bitch. Just
you know
wait
what the craziest thing is about this match, John?
Oh, what's that?
And this comes back. I'm going to bring it full circle here. Because of the fact that they gave the tag team championships to Team Thick.
Yeah.
I could buy literally any of these 4 women walking out with the championship.
Wow.
Because I think you and I agree that the 2 most likely are Charlotte retain and Sasha, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I could buy Bayley winning because then it's a full circle story, right?
Of course.
Because of the tag team championship change being so sudden and going to a team that a lot of people felt like weren't ready but were still pretty good in the ring and then could kind of hold their own, I could buy Becky Lynch winning this thing.
And see, I'm starting to see a growing trend of more people subscribing to that same belief, which, I mean, nothing against Becky Lynch. I just always thought, like, man, there's no way. She's simply there to serve as fodder and eat the pin. But you know what? It's starting to infect me too, damn it. Like, I'm starting to think, is Becky Lynch going to shock the world? Pin. I don't know, maybe Charlotte hits a bow down to the queen on somebody. And, you know, Becky throws her out of the ring and she steals the pin or just something like that. And she gets the upset while everybody looks on and says, I had it. What happened? What happened? And Becky Lynch is the new champion.
I personally think that, and you're going to think this is weird too, I think that the two most likely people to win this match are Sasha Banks and Bayley. See,
I don't think that's weird at all. I don't think that's weird. You got to understand from my perspective. Continue.
Well, because I think either, and this is the crazy part.
Okay.
I think that assuming one of those two women does win, I think that they would do so by pinning Charlotte.
See, and you've told me this. I think you've told me this in conversations leading up to preview predictions. I don't think that's crazy at all.
Especially if it's Bayley. If it's Bayley, she has to pin Charlotte.
Definitely, because to me that's kind of like a taking of the torch kind of thing.
Yes.
I think, see...
If it's Sasha, I could see her pinning Charlotte or Bayley. Or I could see, that's the thing with Sasha. I could see her pinning any of the three. I could even see her pinning Becky as just like a haha, screw you. You were only my friend because I was using you.
Yeah, they've even come out and said this isn't a friendship. This is a partnership to get us where we want to be. So,
right.
You know, it wouldn't surprise. Here's the thing, though, and I kind of want to justify my viewpoint here. For me, I obviously pick Sasha first and foremost because to me she's been on such a roll. Somebody did make an interesting argument that I read that said, you know, she's gotten all these title matches. If they were really intent on putting the belt on her, maybe they would have done it by now. And I can see that point to a degree, but I think people are overlooking the value of a good story. And I think this has been a good story. I think Sasha's been on an incredible roll. She's done some of the best work of anybody in the division. And I've kept saying, and I know you've co-signed onto it. Hell, you were the big Sasha Banks fan before the bug bit me deep. So I know who I'm talking to, that, you know, this has been her time for a while now. But here's the thing. And this is going to be such a typical John cop-out. I do this every time we have a preview predictions for some show. Charlotte just infuriates me because she's just like Adrian Neville during his last few months as champion. When I think she's going to lose it, son of a bitch, she comes out of nowhere and she retains.
Yep.
And I remember when it was an NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way and Adrian Neville was in this exact same spot. I picked Tyler Breeze. Do you remember that? And I think you picked Sami Zayn.
Oh, yeah, I was rooting for Sami hard there.
Yeah, and I was rooting for Breeze. But what happened? Neville pinned Tyson Kidd. And to me, I could see Charlotte pinning Becky Lynch and have that grin on her face and be like, oh, guys, you didn't know this championship still needs a little flair. And then I both applaud her and scream at the same time because I don't know how to feel. So it's infuriating for me.
I have an official prediction ready.
Okay, what is your prediction before I wrap my points up?
Official prediction, Sasha Banks wins. I don't care who she pins, but she wins. And that sets up for a match between Sasha, Charlotte, and whoever Sasha didn't pin to win, whether it's Becky or Bayley, probably Bayley. Triple threat at the next live special for the championship, which Sasha would retain. But this also lets them get the title off of Charlotte so that she can debut on the main roster after WrestleMania.
Interesting thought process. It's funny you invoke the triple threat because
I don't know if you remember, but back in late November, early December, Triple H said 6 months to a year for Charlotte to debut on the main roster.
Right.
Well, WrestleMania, the week after WrestleMania is the first week in April.
Okay.
So that would be about 4 months, right?
Yeah, that I think works out right.
And timing wise, even though it's not quite as long of a wait as Triple H said that we would have, I think that it makes more sense because it's like the new season. It's right after WrestleMania. They want to start new stuff, that kind of thing.
That's very true. Very true. My official prediction, you know what? I'm going to do it this way. Obviously, everybody knows that I want Sasha Banks to win, so that's my subjective pick. If I'm really looking at this, you know,
You're picking Charlotte to retain, aren't you?
I may pick Charlotte to retain. Because here's the thing with Bayley, right? Because I may have even picked her, but I just don't think she has the momentum she did at the last live special.
I think
she's
another character like Sami Zayn, where she's this tragedy. And I mean, if you look at Zayn going into NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way, he did no work to get into that match, just like Bayley. And he didn't win, just like Bayley won't win.
Yeah, I don't think Bayley's winning here. I honestly could see. I'm going to say it. Charlotte retains. She pins Becky, and we get your same triple threat. Because again, I had similar musings, but Charlotte is still the champion. I just don't think she's done yet. And again, maybe it's just her messing with me.
And my biggest thing is, I think that Sasha is peaking right now as a heel.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, I don't think she's ever going to get more over as a heel because, like, her overness as a heel has already hit its peak, and now it's starting to go down because she's starting it over as a face.
Yeah.
Like, for every show that you hear Sasha's Ratchet, you're starting to hear just as many people shouting back, "No, she's not!"
Yeah.
So me, and I probably said Charlotte a bunch of times in there, I meant Sasha, but when somebody gets to that point where they're such a good heel that they start getting cheered, that's when you need to turn them face. That's when you need to strike when the iron's hot. That's when you need to make them face. And to me, Sasha winning the championship here and then having a really good emotional celebration would be perfect for turning her face.
Let me say this, too, just as a quick aside. When she does win the title, whether it's here or down the road, I think the reception is going to be so positive and the celebration just as a whole so amazing. Oh, yeah. I can't wait for it. Definitely. But I'm going to have to be that douche. Every time we do a preview predictions, I always got that one match where John's got to be a douche, and I'm going to say Charlotte retains. I want Sasha.
No, dude, that's not even you being a douche. That's just you wanting to win.
I guess so, man. I'm going.
That's you wanting to be right more than wanting to follow your heart, which is kind of what I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean, you and I both know, man. We're big on Sasha, and we'd mark out hard if she won, but I don't think Charlotte's business is done with that.
I think that Sasha Banks winning the women's title would be an even bigger mark out than Kevin Owens winning the NXT title.
Yeah, for me, hell yes, because I like Kevin Owens, but I followed Sasha more than even when he was Steen in ROH, because we only just recently, late last year started watching all that stuff and whatnot. So, I've got more of the personal investment in there, but I just don't think Charlotte's business is done. So, and by the way, as far as the match itself, I expect these women to get This Is Awesome and This Is Wrestling Gents. This is going to be a barn burner, to be sure, and I expect it to get quite a bit of time. So I am so...
You know what chant I want to hear?
What's that?
Better than divas.
You'll get it. I actually very confident.
Because they're not divas. They're women's wrestlers.
Exactly. So, oh man, dude. Anything else you want to say about this show?
Well, I apologize for the little false finish that I had earlier, but I think it was worth it because I think that this was our best discussion.
You know what the funny thing is, dude? Just kind of explain to everybody, you and I felt like this should have been the main event of the special anyway.
Yep.
Which is the funny thing.
Well, for what it's worth, I thought that before the Owens-Zayn match was made a championship match.
And I was just gonna say that before you said it. Like, yeah, before it became an NXT championship match, we just thought this was a non-title kind of grudge match. We said, well, we think that the NXT Women's Championship is the main event. So I'm actually glad we gave it the discussion last. I think it was a different structure, and I enjoyed that discussion. And go women, empower yourselves.
And I mean, heck. If we're being perfectly honest with ourselves, I think that we almost went in order, rather than of importance, we almost went in order of interest, because I think the Fatal 4-Way women's match is the one that you and I have the most emotional investment in.
Oh, definitely.
Because we kind of feel like Owens-Zayn is a foregone conclusion at this point, so we're not really super emotionally invested in who wins that because we feel like we already know.
Right, exactly.
So yeah, I mean, hey, I've never been more proud to say that I'm more invested in a women's match than a men's match, because this women's match is going to be amazing and the women working in it are amazing.
Yeah, they've all worked so hard. And, Charlotte gave an interview recently where she's like, it's my dream when I get to the main roster to main event one WWE pay-per-view. I don't really see with that kind of, mindset that WWE has ever happening. I admire her ambition, though, and I do think she's more capable of headlining an NXT Live special. And I wish that this was the main event, in all honesty. Again, most certainly isn't going to be now. But these women certainly deserve that spot, I think. That's how wonderful and talented they are. I can't wait for this matchup. Go Sasha Banks!
Yeah!
Take that title, baby!
Absolutely.
So
all right, we'll see you guys for live reactions.
I'm so pumped, guys. Until then, tune in. Peace out.